welcome back to another episode of Chrysalis Satori, the All-American Burnouts. We are here in Albania. Now, one of the questions that Wes and I get very often when we talk to a lot of these expats is, what do I need to bring and what is involved with a long stay? Because when you move to Albania, you get up to a year visa. So it's a question we get all the time. What do I need to bring from the U.S. while I'm there to come to Albania? What's really needed? What's necessary? What can't you get there that you have in the U.S. in abundance? So,
And just to be clear, that's a 1 year for Americans visa free. So
yeah,
just show up, you can stay a year.
yep, absolutely. Then you can apply for the 5 year residency and such as a process. But yeah,
And I think they've lowered that to 3 as well. But yeah,
yeah, maybe yeah, it's definitely they change it a lot, but
yes, they do.
as the outcry increases, they change it back often. So it's one of those things. Um, but I would say when I first got here, the first thing I noticed as far as scarcity, or I would say like the first thing that I was like kind of surprised at was the ability, or I'm sorry, the electronics datedness. Like it was probably a year or two old in most electronics. So usually the first thing I tell people to bring is if you have electronics that you particularly want, a specific type, or you want the latest and greatest, you can't really count on here to have the latest and greatest. Would you agree with
And
that?
even if you do, the prices compared to America are huge.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
bring them with you.
There's typically like a 20 to 30% increase from most stuff because it's older too. So it's a laptop that's like a year older and about 30% more than it would be in the U.S. because they have the VAT. So the VAT adds a lot to the cost of things that get imported. Um,
And their import taxes are high as well.
yeah,
So it's
yeah.
a combination. Yeah.
I even bought I had one shipped here, and I had to pay another $200 on top of the cost of the laptop. What they put as their value, and they said, "Oh, you owe this in tax on that." So that was kind of a little disappointing. But I would say
But
by
that's because they have it shipped and not brought with you. You know,
that's
if
the
you pack it and
worst.
bring it, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the worst. And that was unfortunately what I got caught with. But still using that computer to this day, so I haven't upgraded anything. But it's a good computer. Um, but that's usually the first thing I tell them. But what are some of the other things that you tell people when they talk about what they should bring from the U.S.?
It's like we were saying in previous episodes. It's a mixture, right? The things that you need to live, some of the most basic things, are of higher quality than necessarily like food than what you would get in the U.S. Better health quality, fresher, organic, all that stuff without paying a premium or even having to look for it to be that way. It just all is, and it's very inexpensive. But anything that you don't need, so consumer goods, and that's a very broad
Mm,
category, right? Consumer goods, things that you don't actually need day to day or need for living, uh, is usually lower quality or lower quantity, certainly by comparison to the price that
hmm
you would expect in the US. So, one thing that's impacted me here, because I do cook for myself rather than eat out so much, is spices. They came out of occupation relatively recently. Their diet is simple. Their cooking methods are simple based on
hmm
the circumstances that they came out of communism last. So, and that's pretty broad. So, but certainly anything spicy. There's no such thing as spicy here. Like paprika is considered spicy. Okay, if you put a lot of black pepper on something, they'll say it's spicy. So, if that gives you any idea, even though they're highly influenced by Italy in their cooking and tastes, pizza is prevalent here. You
hmm
don't find pepperoni, next to never.
Yeah.
Like one or two places have pepperoni. What they'll have instead is what they'll call spicy salami, and it
hmm
is not pepperoni, right? So just to give you an idea, there's no such thing as spicy. So anything you want like that, bring it. Cayenne pepper, buffalo seasoning, anything along those lines in terms of, but also some things that are not spicy, just the things that we might consider more basic. You're not going to find garlic salt. Now you'll get fresh garlic all day, and you can find coarse sea salt, Himalayan sea salt,
Yeah.
things like that, very cheap and of good value. But
Anything
I would,
anything that's a spice blend, like
yeah, anything that's already blended for you,
yeah,
right? Something that's already
forget
done
about
for you. Like as an example, it's not a spice, but salad dressing.
it.
You're not going to find that, and that's also for most of Eastern Europe. You're not going to find anything that someone can make themselves there's not a market for it. So you'll go to the supermarket and there's no, in America, there's like an entire aisle of salad dressing.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist largely across most of Europe, and certainly there's none here. So it's all oil and vinegar and balsamic, and you do it yourself. So there's a lot of that. So anything kind of like you're saying, pre-mixed, pre-made. So yeah, seasoning. So any type of pre-mixed seasoning, you're not going to find it. So if you want your McCormick's, steak seasoning, bring it. If anything like that. And I've blown their socks off with some basic things like that. Yeah. What is it you guys like so much?
The chicken
Tony's
fajitas.
Satori.
Yeah,
right?
Tony's. I had Wes bring me back like 4 or 5 cans of that.
and I have for guys, expats that own restaurants here. I'll bring back stuff for them in bulk sometimes when I visit, because you just there's just no such thing. So any type of seasonings that are above anything like just salt, pepper, super basic, oregano, but like you're not going to find an Italian blend seasoning. You're going to find all the basics and you blend it yourself. So anything like that, bring seasoning. Food, pork products, pretty low here. So if you want bacon, bring your bacon. I'll get some thick cut, big batch of it, thick cut, cook it, pack it, and I bring that back with me. In the last months, I eat it sparingly. You're not going to find actual bacon. Now they'll call it bacon, and it's, it's not bacon like you're used to it.
Yeah, it's usually very thin, and it's more hammy than bacon, like Canadian bacon.
It's not seasoned, not cured. Yeah, It's very different. So let's see. What do we say? Like cayenne, spicy, buffalo, anything like that. Bacon, garlic salt. Again, like for me, just something basic. Like that's basic for cooking that I live on. You can't. So I bring back garlic salt, Lowry's. Let's see, other foods. Like I said, no salad dressing. There's only going to be vinaigrettes, and even then, that's not going to be pre-mixed. You're expected to do these things yourself. They're not big on corn products, so they're pretty big on chips. So if you like potato chips, that sort of thing, I'm not big on any of this. I'm just listing off ones that other expats. So but like you're not going to find Doritos or Fritos, or I'm not big on corn. So if you like those type of products, I mean, obviously you can't bring enough for a year, but just expect you're not going to find that.
You can find some Doritos sometimes. They don't always have them, but every once in a
And if
while.
you do, it's at an import store. It's not. You're not going to spend that money. You're not going to spend $6 or $12 on a bag of
right.
Doritos.
That's the
and again, their seasonings will be interesting, right? It won't be maybe the flavors you're used to. It'll be some flavor you've never heard of before, right? Some interesting combination that'll sell here. Getting out of food, but still, food. So chicken is prevalent. However, interesting enough, you will not find thighs. They'll call a leg a thigh, and it's just the drum. Their wings and this is like going to the butcher, and their wings are drumettes, not wings.
Right.
So the fattier part of the chicken, the thighs just don't exist. So again, just expect some differences, things you will and won't find. So if you want a thigh, buy a whole chicken, right? Supplements, vitamins, anything like that. So even though we mentioned in another episode about the pharmacy, you can get pretty much any drug, pharmaceutical, with no prescription, and only buy as many as you need, or a whole pack or whatever, and they're pretty darn inexpensive. Interesting enough, you won't find supplements. So if you got a good multivitamin, bring a year's worth. That's something I bring back, is vitamins and supplements. Now they do have some of these things. Sometimes they have them, sometimes they don't. But again, for the price point, the quality and quantity, and you being able to buy a specific blend or brand or whatever just doesn't exist here. So I bring back vitamins, fish oil, B12, DHEA, GABA, you name it. Supplement wise, bring it. And to lower your impact on your luggage, I always dump them out into Ziplocs. So I get rid of the bottle so it fits better, and it actually does add up big time on the weight of the bag. So dump those and bring 6 months, a year's worth, whatever. Bring those back with you. And on the note of Ziplocs, bring your own Ziplocs.
Bring Ziplocs. I was getting ready to say the same thing.
The quality, quality and quantity of some things. I think we mentioned in another episode, like aluminum paper. I mean, it's like tissue paper thin. It's just almost useless. Ziplocs, very, very, very poor quality. They're not going to hold up. They're very thin. They tear. They don't. So bring a nice variety of Ziplocs. let's see, chicken. You're going to cook at home again a lot, so do consider. At least at least I do, because again, there's only so much variety here in the restaurants. So if you want something, you're going to have to make it yourself, and it's much cheaper too to cook yourself. I mean, it is anywhere in the world, but even here, where it's very inexpensive to eat out every day, it's extremely expensive. I mean, you go get a kilo of wings for $4, literally, and you have your own seasoning, and that can last multiple meals right there. So,
Yeah.
And also that they tend to overcook everything, especially chicken. They really, I mean, it's dry. So, you might end up cooking at home more than you expect for different reasons. Some things that just to prepare you, I would not necessarily bring because of the bulk, the size, and just the reality you're not going to be able to bring enough for a year anyway. Paper products are pretty low quality, and smaller and thinner. So like, paper towels, tissue paper, toilet paper. You're going to have to experiment with finding one that you like. They are largely the same, though. Unfortunately, as many brands and variations as they may have, they're nearly all the same. You might only find one is actually significantly different.
Luckily, I found my brands on those, so they worked out pretty good.
So other things that are basics, clothing. So let's just a broad subject, cotton. For Albania specifically, cotton. You're not going to find a lot of, nearly everything is plastic. It's going to be a rayon, poly, something. And I'm a person that is not good with humidity. I need cotton products. So you're just not going to find it. If you do, it's crazy expensive and not that great to begin with. It just, so bed sheets, towels, things are smaller here. They're smaller people. So you have smaller towels. Finding a big towel for a bath towel, it might be a challenge. You're going to have to shop for that. If you see one, get two, right? It might not be there again.
That's actually a really good point to bring up. When you see something that you were looking for, you want buy every one them, like
going to Costco, right?
Yeah.
You don't know if they'll have it again. Buy it all,
exactly. Because they may not have it again for another year
or ever.
Yeah.
Or ever.
It just depends. Yeah?
All things are smaller, right? So cups. So on that note, if you like a tumbler or a thermos, bring it. You're not going to find, even though you will find something stainless steel or maybe glass. It's going to be 8 ounce. Bring a tumbler, bring a thermos, glass, steel, things like that are going to last. Bring that. But again, the cotton goods. So one thing I bring back every trip, like the seasoning, is a fresh pack of underwear and a fresh pack of socks, because socks you're definitely going to go through. Even if you don't go to the gym, you're going to wear them out because it is highly pedestrian. It's all pedestrian, not highly. It's all pedestrian. And that's great, but you're going to wear through those socks. So I always bring back fresh socks, things you just can't find unless it's some poly mix or 100% poly. If you want cotton, bring it with you. On that line, pedestrian again. So shoes, I would highly, highly suggest you bring comfortable shoes, but more than that, bring them. Don't expect to buy them again, because sizes, like for men, they're going to max out at about a size 10 US. There is no such thing as like an arch. So if you need arch support, you're not going to find it here. And that's kind of Europe as a whole, but more variety other countries than here, but you're just not going to find it. And nothing over a size 10. The prices are going to be, again, higher compared to the US for the equivalent thing. Bring, 1 or 2 pair. And so when I say that, bring a pair for the summer, bring a pair for the fall, and also bring a pair of sandals that are equally comfortable and cushy. If you're going to wear flip-flops or something, even on the street, make sure they're really padded, really thick for pedestrian, street walking, not just the beach, right? So bring probably at least 3, right? Sandal, flip-flops that are super comfortable. A dry pair, so for when it's not rainy and wet, because it is a city. So when it is wet here, when it is winter, it gets very wet. The streets flood quickly, just not the best infrastructure. So, you're not just walking in the rain, you're walking in deep, thick puddles, maybe water, up to mid part of your foot. So I brought back a pair of waterproof sneakers as well. Bring something for wet season, something for dry season, something for beach season. Bring that, because just size and comfort and arch.
The
Gym
other thing too
accessories, they're
is
kind of like that.
as far as like shoes go, they have a lot of knockoffs. So the problem too is that they'll have Nike and Adidas and all these other things, but they may or may not be real. You're not ever really truly sure. So I highly recommend bring your shoes. That's a big deal. Like get all your shoes for as long as you're going to need them, and restock whenever you can. But it's definitely
Yeah,
a great
absolutely.
point.
Yeah,
Great point.
yeah, you're going to wear through them, no
Hmm.
doubt. Let's see. So I'm just kind of reading off. We had a long list of just another just knickknack. I would say they have a lot of stuff for women when it comes to hair product because they're very conscious of their appearance here. But some things I can tell you this from other expats and locals as well. Sometimes they have me bring back things like hair dyes. Like the quality of the hair dye stuff they have here is pretty harsh.
Yeah.
So if you do anything like that, bring your own for a better quality care, and same thing for any type of treatment. Now that adds up in weight, obviously, right? You're talking about fluid weight for your travel. So be creative, but you know, sometimes I bring stuff back for people when I have the weight allotment available.
The room. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the weight really more than the
Yeah.
room, but it's fluid weight. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that adds up big. But so things like that. Any what we were saying before, like gym. So gym.
Oh
Yeah, I
yeah.
would say gym accessories, and that's another thing that's going to be a quality issue, not just even if they have it, they're going to have great variation. They're going to have great quality. So any type of uh, you know obviously you can find a weight belt or things like that, but any type, just better gloves,
Hmm.
or the things that I use, I think they're called gecko pads. They're not even gloves, they're kind of like in between. You just put your hands between them, and so you're not getting so sweaty and stained from the glove itself. But you're just not going to find things like that here. So bring gym type of accessories. Obviously you're not going to be packing weights and that sort of thing, but you'd be surprised how. So just as another example of difference, like at a big discount store, Megatech, what was it? Was it only a 10? Yeah, it was only a 10-kilo weight. And it was actually to weigh down a basketball goal for someone's kid.
Hmm.
Um,
Oh
so
yeah.
this is just dead weight, right? This is lead. This is just dead weight. You'd expect this to be maybe $5, maybe, right? A 10 kilo, it was 50, $50.
It's all
So
the shipping
you'd be
costs built
surprised.
in. Yeah.
Yeah, of just of things to expect. So just so you know, and again, some things you can't bring, some things you can. So along the lines of things you can still bring that I would suggest. Oh yeah, that was it. Adult oriented. So
Hmm.
lingerie, sex toys. I mean, they definitely have lingerie, but if you want anything outside of a nightgown type of thing, I mean, they have some stuff, but I would suggest if you and your partner have anything or any interest, bring them toys as well. I think there's only one store in town. Everything's from China. It's priced like for something you'd get on Amazon for $7, it'll be 60 or 80, and it's something out of China that's going to break,
Yeah.
first day. Uh, I would say bring that kind of stuff. If you can handle the weight, I would actually suggest bringing batteries as well, like double A's and triple A's. They're expensive here. And so if you have the weight allotment, bring you a 48 pack from, a big box store, right? From
Sam's
Amazon
Club.
or Costco or whatever. Yeah, Sam's Club, exactly. So,
Yeah.
um, things that you can and can't bring. So, well, this is more of just a note. You can't really bring it. Just be aware. Liquor is not of a high diversity here either, right? So don't expect to find your particular brand or something highly specific you like that way. It's very gin heavy. It's hard to find vodka at all, much less any variety. They have high taxes and tariffs on alcohol specifically as well. So it's largely a beer town. Wine's okay. You'll find a lot of places that have restaurants that have open Italian wines, and they're very cheap and very good.
Hmm.
Maybe $3, $4 a glass. So just expect that. Just know. Uh,
A lot of Italian wine, so they're
yeah, a lot of that, and that makes
yeah,
it nice.
they're
Those
really
are
good.
almost a no fail.
Hmm.
Very, 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 very rarely have I had kind of a wine that's starting to go bad or getting a little vinegary, right? And that's usually at
Yeah.
some little mom and pop fish shop, right?
Hmm.
But anywhere nice, I mean, they're very reliable about just having excellent reds and whites all the time. And you get like half a liter or 200, whatever, or by the glass, either way. Um, There's some bigger picture things to think about. We can get to those when we finish the smaller ones. Just another thing to expect. So let's just talk about that, like things to expect to have and not have. Okay, most rentals are not going to have a dryer, may or may not have a washer. Most have a washer, but largely most do not have a dryer. So you can expect to either hang your clothes out or use a clothing rack indoors, and they may or may not supply the clothing rack itself. Most places are not going to have a microwave. They're not terribly expensive, but they're also incredibly small. So apply like everything else here is small. So expect,
Yeah,
you know,
baby size.
yeah, expect to pay for, what might be a microwave this big in America is going to be, a little college size, microwave. And that's it.
Everything's smaller here for sure.
Everything's smaller. Along those lines, adapters. So if you look on the back or on the reading of nearly all of your electronics, you might have to take a picture and zoom in, but nearly all of them are going to have a 120 to 240 or 120/240, on it. So you likely do not need a transformer coming here. All you need are the pins, the adapters. There's I think it's a Type E that's here, depending on which standard you look at. But
and there's two
but you need
standards
those.
here
You need like 6 or 9 of them. Realistically, like bring 6 or 9 of them to permanently leave things connected.
You can get that here, by the way, but they are very, very kind of a little bit chintzy. They can break, but if you want to really have a good,
get Amazon and get you a 6-pack.
I guess the rule of thumb of the whole episode is, if you're okay with a Chinese kind of quality of the item, you can get it here. If you want the American quality of stuff that's really high end stuff, get it in America, because you're not going to get it here. Everything here is going to be imported from China. So
you're paying the American price for the Chinese chintzy.
Exactly. So that's the general rule of thumb.
That might sting.
The whole thing. It's very true, though. It's very true. Because I could get like phone cases shipped here from Alibaba and stuff, but it's just, they're just cheap Chinese stuff. They have a few stores that just carry nothing but Chinese imports, like a place called Jumbo. It's kind of like a Chinese Alibaba Walmart. It's a fairly big store. They got a lot of cheap pans. And do you want to tell a story about your nice Pyrex dish you got? So Wes
finally
finds what he's been looking for forever. Go ahead, man. Tell it.
No. Well, I've used it maybe a month. It can handle being in the freezer, being in the oven, being in. Yeah, I was just reheating something. It was finally of the right size. Their dimensions on things are a little odd too. It's just like oddly just different configuration shapes of containers and storage bins that we're used to. And I finally found them just the appropriate size for so many things. And yeah, I just threw it in the microwave, heated it up, and it just exploded, right?
It's just, yeah.
So, about a month old. Yeah. So
top Chinese quality.
Yeah. So on electronics, like you're saying, bring a streamer, right? Bring your own TV streamer and an adapter, not the adapter, but just the pin, the pin change for that. You don't need a transformer.
Be familiar with VPNs too. That's another thing.
Right. Your streamer will not do you a lot of good unless you bring unless it can support a VPN running on it, and you have a VPN subscription to test that. So have a VPN of choice, have that installed, have it set up on your streamer, have that working, and at least one, right? Maybe 2. Generally, most places only have 1 TV anyway. Yeah. So a lot of people I know just watch on their PC, and they already have a VPN on there. But some of these places will have a nice TV mounted in the center. So if you want that, bring your streamer. I would say other accessories along those same lines you were talking about. So earbuds, headsets, accessories, USB drives, the cables, all the accessories for those drives, all the pinouts. I would say bring that. It's just cheaper and better quality of what you have in the States, and those are light items to pack.
Yeah. I mean, don't get us wrong. You can get a lot of this stuff here. with the exception of the seasonings. But you can get a lot of stuff here, but it's just not quite as good, and you pay more a premium for it. So that's the general rule of thumb for the whole episode. Is that's
And that
what
stings
you
too
should
much for
pay.
me. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
yeah. I'm not going to pay more or equal for something of worse, and that's exactly the way it is. So
yeah.
that's the rub for me.
In particular, shoes. I mean, they have shoes here. They don't go to my size. I wear size 15 shoes, so I even have a hard time in the U.S. But I found up to 13s, I believe, size 13s. Uh, but they don't. They're just not quite good enough. But they are just not as comfortable. Like I've noticed that. Even like the people here, it's so funny because New Balance for a long time was like the old people's shoes. Now New Balance, they love them here because they have such good support and they're comfortable. So yeah, so my girlfriend gets a New Balance pair of shoes, and I'm thinking, oh, those are old people's shoes, and she's thinks they're the most stylish and wonderful thing ever. She's like, she don't even want me to touch them. I'm not allowed to even.
Right, she keeps them clean,
Yeah,
fresh.
I'm not allowed to even go near them. It's so funny. If I step on her foot, she gets furious with me. No, but it's a typical Chinese. Like everything's very kind of low quality, top dollar, and so you got to. There's the only things I say you really can't get here would be like the high quality cotton clothes, if there's anything in particular. Current
T-shirts,
current
jeans.
electronics and spices. Those are the major things that you just really can't get here. Like you can't get current. I mean, you can, but you pay out the. I think they have an Apple.
Some you can't. No, some things you just.
Some things you just can't. Yeah, they did have an Apple. I think it was the last year's model, and I want to say it was close to $3,000 for that laptop, for an Apple laptop. And I'm like, man, that's crazy. In the U.S. they're like I think 1,500, so almost half the cost.
Yeah, you go to the phones, the SIM or cell carrier store, and they'll have the Samsungs out, and they're $4,500, $5,000.
Yeah, it's insane, especially the foldable. Yeah, the foldable is ridiculous, but the plan itself is cheap. I mean, like I pay $6 a month
The
for my
cell
cell
coverage,
phone
right?
plan. Yeah, so if you can get your electronics here, you'll be fine. And the services like the internet, I think I pay $13 a month for a 300 megabit internet, which is crazy. So
Gigabit.
yeah, it's insane. Like it's really much cheaper to do it. You know, to buy the high quality stuff in the U.S. and bring it here, and then use the services here. You'll be fine, I think.
Yeah, service-wise for the cell, that's easy. Just as soon as you land in the airport, you can do. I mean, there's more than one carrier. I do Vodafone.
Hmm.
It's a little more portable if you're visiting other countries as well. The surrounding countries like Italy and so on, they have roaming for that,
Hmm.
like an add-on that you can just continue to use your same plan for a certain number of days. But yeah, you can just land, get out of security with your luggage, which there's not really security. Just get your luggage and walk through. There's no customs border process. So just get your luggage and leave. Go to your choice of vendor. You'll need your passport. They link the passport to the SIM. That's most of Europe anyway. I think that's Europe as a whole. You just buy your SIM. I can't even remember if there was a SIM cost. There might have been $10. I can't even
I want
remember.
to say it was like $2. It was very
Yeah,
cheap.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that varies by country. That's why I can't remember, and it was years ago.
yeah.
And I've got a dual SIM, so I don't have to swap it out. But yeah, you'll get that, and then you're talking about probably a $15 plan that'll get you 30 days, like 10 gigabit data, some text, some minutes. The minutes are local,
Hmm.
and no international. International minutes are very expensive.
Yeah,
And when you get them, you might get like 30 minutes worth of international,
yeah.
right? So that leads us over to back to the VPN. So bigger picture things like prepare for since you're leaving, and we're talking about a long stay being a year here, right? That's what we're focused on, not just vacationing
Hmm.
or coming in for a month or two. Um, so along those lines, you want to have some things worked out. You want to have that VPN worked out. You want to have a VoIP solution of your choice.
Hmm.
You want to update all your accounts to use that VoIP number for your 2FA. If you have that set up on your account, you want it to be directed to that so that everything is seamless and you're uninhibited as far as accessing all your accounts abroad in your travels. You'll want to find a friend or a family member, have someone set up as a power of attorney in case there's anything that needs to be done while you're away, signed for, financial,
Yeah,
so on. Have that power of attorney line to have that, and set up for a few years. If you think you're going to be here a year, set up for 3 years. Why? It's the same paperwork and the same notary, right? So
yeah.
just do it for a few years and have that done. You never know where you might end up and where your travels lead you. Um, For ATM, what I use, and I've found a lot of expats use the same one, not just here, but in all my travels. They have Charles Schwab. They'll use their debit ATM card. So with Charles Schwab, what you do is you just open a brokerage account, and the checking account is linked to the brokerage account. That's like the requirement, and then it's free. So it's a free debit card, and that'll work on any machine anywhere in the world, and they actually refund you back if there are whatever the fees are. Well, not any of the fees. Whatever fees you may pay at the ATM, like if there's a flat fee for using it, you'll see that is refunded monthly back from Schwab as well. That's why so many expats use that, because it negates having to worry about how much the fee is and that sort of thing. Now, I don't abuse it. I keep track of which banks, and it changes which banks do what. But I know of those that abuse it or just use it liberally and don't look and don't care, and it just gets refunded back. They're unaffected by any of the ATM fees. And you don't have to do anything with the brokerage account. You don't actually even have to have money in it or utilize it. I've had it for years, and it just has to be linked to a brokerage account, and then you get that benefit of the ATM fees being refunded.
Which is nice, because the ATMs can be, $7 to $10 sometimes. Like it depends on the bank, but they can be bad. So I know quite a few people have complained about that. I was trying to think something else you said too. Oh, the VoIP number. You have to make sure that it's compatible, because there's some people who use Google Voice, and I know they're having some trouble with some two-factor authentication. Like the bank doesn't send to those numbers. So test it all in the U.S. before you come here to make sure that it can
Absolutely. Test each one.
There's another one called Text Now that that's what I use personally.
Mm-hmm.
The price changed. I got grandfathered in at $29 a year to have an app on my phone that basically handles a local number in my area code I want, and local calling and text. I want to say now it's like $5 a month, I believe. They changed it, but still at $5 a month for a local cell number is really cheap. And it does work with the two-factor authentication. I use it with my bank. So that is something that you can possibly look into.
Yeah, the free ones are hit and miss. Like it's Google Voice for myself, but I have done everything's worked on mine, and I'm still unaffected. But it's quite possible my Google Voice number is just that old. Like I might have been one of the first or earlier adopters of that I've had it so long that it's on phone lists for the financial institutions, so everything goes through it. But yeah, I've heard where other people, they've signed up for Google Voice more recently, and yeah, it gets flagged by financial institutions as a VoIP, and they don't want to block. But that's changed too. Like back in 2020, most financial institutions were not accepting any VoIP solution. It didn't matter which one. They just, if it was a VoIP, they weren't taking it bit by bit. And it's like, what is a digital nomad, right? How can you have that as a policy, right? So bit by bit, I've seen that wash away, and it's
I'm hoping they eliminate that, because it's really kind of crazy that that they would block that. But I have noticed that some text now doesn't work on everything, but it does. I've had a few. I'm trying to think. When I was trying to verify actually the YouTube channel, YouTube knew it was a voice over IP, and it didn't let me do that, so I had to do another number, which was weird. But
so the point is just test it. Get your solutions in order and test every account with and without
in the U.S.
VPN and with and without the VoIP. Yeah. Don't test it with and without both. Yeah.
Don't test it in Albania, because you won't have a recourse after that. But for sure. What else we got on our list, buddy? We got a whole big old list today.
Well, yeah, we're getting so the bigger picture things. So we were talking about things you need to set up before, currency exchange. I really wouldn't bother with getting currency. I used to do that when I just vacationed in across Europe and stuff in decades by. I would take it with me just to have someone I showed up, and then not have the impact of the ATM, in the airport or somewhere nearby, right? So if you bring some, don't bring much, just bring, a few hundred at most of currency exchange. The ATM, if you have a like what we're saying, an ATM card that doesn't charge you or they, refund you any fees, and that's less of a deterrent an issue. That's just easier, in every country you go to, you just get the local currency that way. Just go to the ATM and no exchange fees, none of that nonsense. Another suggestion I would say about the ATM process itself. So for myself, I've done this for years and years before I even did the traveling, but I do what's called a burner account. So like with the Schwab, I have,
Hmm.
so there's three accounts. There's the brokerage account and then there's two checking accounts. So the brokerage account is linked to checking account A. Checking account A, I actually don't even have the ATM debit card physically with me.
Hmm.
It's just I access it online through their browser or through their app. And I move money from the brokerage account to the checking account A, and then I move money in smaller amounts from checking account A to checking account B, which is the actual debit card that I utilize in the machine. So for
Yeah.
whatever of the many, many reasons that one could get cloned, copied, lost, whatever, I've got a minimal amount in maybe none in checking account B because I've already withdrawn it.
Yeah.
And I only move money, and it's instantaneous. You go in the app, and
Right.
you can be right at the ATM. You're in the app. You just say move, this amount of dollars from A to B, instantaneous, and then you can put your card in, pull it out that way. So, if anything, and that checking account B is not linked to anything. It's not linked to another account. It's isolated. So, if
Mm.
anything happens in whatever way, online or physically, as far as that account goes, it's an isolated incident, right? It's minimal impact. And
Yeah.
I just open up a checking account C and then repeat the process, and everything in A and the brokerage are unaffected. Nothing to do there.
Yeah. That's what I do with Capital One as well, and it definitely works really well. Smart to do too. That's really good advice. We do have a whole other section, but I'm kind of thinking it's a culture section, but I'm thinking we should do that
It is.
on a whole separate episode. Do you think?
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
I think that's worth. And we're running about 36 minutes in, so we'll end it with basically the theory. The lesson today is if you can live with a lower quality Chinese item, then don't bring it. If you need the higher quality U.S. items to live here, and spices, and I would say shoes, and maybe high quality clothes and workout clothes and gym clothes.
Yeah. If you
Uh,
need cotton, period.
yeah,
If you need breathability or cotton, bring it.
because you can get a lot of stuff here, but there are compromises. So that is something that you should keep in mind. But yeah, I think I think we covered a lot, man. That's pretty comprehensive what to bring, what not to bring list for you guys. So that's good advice, buddy. I appreciate your time today, man.
All right, buddy.
All right,
Thanks for wrapping us up.
we'll wrap this up, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Link and subscribe, please.
Yes,
Thank you.
like and subscribe. Yeah, for sure.
Oh,
Thank
link, yes. Link, like.
Thank you, guys. I'll see you the next one.
All right.
Peace.